And you're recording. Good.
All right, we are live. All right, let's see here.
All right, give everybody a little time to join in, log on, all that good stuff.
Yep.
I'll try to monitor the chats. Howdy there, Hippie Rick. Good to see
Hey,
you.
Rick, how you doing?
All right, I got my chat box up. Any questions can come in there. I'll do my best to answer.
All right.
3 people as they come in.
Okay.
Good evening, folks.
All right, welcome. Welcome. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to play our little video, our 15-minute. My name is Patrick Dunnigan. I'm the director of Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. If you want to join this meeting, go to our website, legalizekentucky.com, click on the town hall meeting link, click join meeting now, and join us. So at the end, if you have questions, we'll gladly try to answer it. But what we're going to do is we're going to play an audio clip for the next 15 minutes to get people to come in and invite people to this meeting. So with that said, let's get this going. Here. Can you see that?
I can see it.
All right, everyone, welcome back for another
I can hear it.
Today, we're going to be heading down south to Kentucky to take a look at something pretty interesting going on down there.
Yeah.
Cannabis reform.
Absolutely. And we've got a whole lot to cover, too. We've been looking through some legislative documents, getting intel from advocacy groups.
Oh, very cool.
And we've even got some data analysis to really get into the nitty gritty of what's going on and why folks should be paying attention.
Okay, so let's dive right into this, shall we? And listeners, you are in for a treat because Kentucky is potentially on the verge of something big, right? Like, we're not just talking about tweaking some minor laws here.
No, not at all. This is something much bigger, potentially even a constitutional amendment.
Whoa, really? A constitutional amendment?
Yeah. It's called HB 105,
Okay.
and it could actually let the people of Kentucky directly vote on cannabis decriminalization.
Okay, hold on. You're going to have to break this down for me because it's a pretty major development, a constitutional amendment.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So this HB 105, what it does is it guarantees adults 21 and older the right to possess, use, buy, or sell up to 1 ounce of cannabis.
Okay.
And they could even cultivate up to 5 plants for personal use, all without any criminal penalties.
So it's not just about legalization. It's about putting the power in the hands of Kentuckians to actually make this decision themselves.
Exactly.
I can see why you're so excited about this. It seems like a pretty big deal. But why go the route of a constitutional amendment? I mean, wouldn't just passing a regular law be enough?
Well, think about it this way. If they change the state constitution, it's a much more permanent change, you know? Future legislatures can't just come in and easily reverse it.
Oh, okay.
It's a way to really solidify this change and protect it for the people who support decriminalization.
Right, because it's literally written into the fabric of the state's laws.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this bill, HB 105, potentially changing the game in Kentucky. But there's also a group that's been super vocal about pushing for this change.
Yeah, the Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition.
The KCFC. I've heard of these guys. They've been making some noise.
Oh, yeah, they're doing some amazing work.
So what exactly is their role in all of this?
Well, they're a nonprofit advocacy group.
Okay.
And they're working totally within the legal system to educate the public about cannabis.
All right.
You know, dispelling those myths and advocating for common sense reforms like HB 105.
So they're not just about shouting from the rooftops. They're actually getting down to the nuts and bolts of making this happen.
Exactly. And they're really smart about it, too. They have this initiative called Survey Says.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Where they gauge public opinion, you know, to show that there's widespread support for change.
Smart.
It's all about fostering open dialogue and really getting people talking about this issue.
I love that. All right, so we've got this potential game changer in HB 105. We've got the KCFC working hard to make it a reality, and it sounds like there's a lot of public support brewing. So let's say someone listening to this is totally fired up about this issue. Right. What can they actually do to help push HB 105 across the finish line?
Well, this is where things get really interesting because now it's all about the people.
Ooh, I like where this is going. This is about getting involved, right?
Absolutely. Since we're talking about a constitutional amendment, the legislature has to take action, right?
Right.
So the most impactful thing anyone can do is contact their representatives,
Oh,
especially their Republican representatives, and urge them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
all right. So it's time for all you Kentuckians out there to pick up those phones and make your voices heard. We're talking about calling the legislative hotline.
Yes.
And that number is 1-800-372-7181.
Get those calls going.
Don't be shy. Don't just call once.
No.
Make it twice a day.
Exactly.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Every call makes a difference.
I love it. So this is about showing the Kentucky legislature just how much support there is for HB 105.
Absolutely. They need to see how important this is to the people they represent.
Right. Because every call is a message. It's a statement.
Exactly.
And this is your chance, Kentucky, to directly impact the future of cannabis in your state.
It's all about taking action.
So let's say someone is ready to make that call.
Yeah.
But they're thinking, hold on, how do I actually find my representative?
Okay, good question. It's super easy.
Okay.
For example, let's say your representative is Jared Bauman.
Okay.
You can email him directly at jared.bauman@kilegislature.gov.
All right, super simple. Or if you're not sure who your representative is,
Right.
you can always call the Legislative Research Commission,
They're great.
or the LRC for short, at 502-564-810.
They'll hook you up with your representative's info in no time.
It's all about taking that first step, making that connection.
And remember,
Yeah,
don't underestimate the power of actually talking to your elected officials.
I love that. So we've laid out the roadmap. We've given you the tools.
Yep.
It's time for action, Kentucky. Let's make this happen.
I'm excited to see what happens next.
Me too. So we've talked a lot about taking action and how important it is to reach out to your representatives. But let's take a step back for a second and look at what's actually happening on the ground in Kentucky.
Right. Like, what does the current cannabis landscape look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the data actually paints a pretty stark picture. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy released a report, and it shows thousands of Kentuckians are facing cannabis-related charges and convictions every year.
Wow, thousands. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know what's really crazy? A lot of these are for minor offenses.
Like what? Just civil possession or something?
Exactly. Like, for example, Lyon County has a conviction rate of 11.9 per 1,000 residents.
Well, hold on. That sounds really high.
It is. That's more than 4 times the state average.
Wow, that's some pretty staggering numbers. It really makes you think about the human cost of all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Every charge, every conviction, it represents a real person whose life is being affected.
Right. It's not just a statistic, it's someone's job prospects, their housing, their right to vote, even.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect that goes way beyond just a possession charge.
So with HB 105 on the table, the one we were talking about earlier, the one that could decriminalize cannabis, do you think we could actually see a shift in those numbers? Like, could we see fewer charges and convictions?
Oh, I definitely think it's possible. Decriminalization could really take a lot of pressure off the justice system.
Right. So they could focus on more serious crimes.
Exactly. And think about it, decriminalization could actually lead to new industries.
Oh, yeah.
New jobs, more tax revenue. It could be a real boost to the Kentucky economy.
It's like a domino effect. All these positive impacts stemming from one change.
And it's not just economic benefits either. We could see positive social impacts as well. Well, think about it. Decriminalization could really help change public perception about cannabis, help break down those negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that could lead to more community development, more understanding and acceptance.
I like it. So it's not just about individual freedom. It's about the entire state of Kentucky potentially benefiting from this.
Exactly. It's about creating a more just and equitable society.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about Kentucky, but this isn't just happening in a vacuum, right? There's a whole national movement going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're seeing a massive shift all across the country when it comes to cannabis.
Like a domino effect. More and more states are joining the party.
Exactly. More states are legalizing or decriminalizing, and it's really putting pressure on others to reevaluate their own policies.
Like, hey, if they could do it, why can't we?
Exactly. And that national momentum is putting Kentucky in a really interesting position.
Like at a crossroads.
Totally. They have HB 105 on the table. They've got the KCFC pushing for change, and now they've got all these other states showing them that it's possible.
So it's like a pivotal moment for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Where do they want to stand on this issue?
Exactly. Do they want to be part of this new wave of reform, or do they want to stay stuck in the past?
And that's why it's so important for people to contact their legislator.
Yes, they need to make their voices heard.
It's not just about saying yes to cannabis. It's about making sure these complex issues are being discussed.
Right. And that all sides are being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the KCFC and their role in advocating for HB 105, but they're also doing a lot of educational work, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their website is like a one-stop shop for all things cannabis.
Really?
They've got info on HB 105. They've got the latest research and news.
Wow.
They even have a Know Your Rights section, which is super helpful for anyone who's curious about cannabis in Kentucky.
It's like they're providing people with the tools they need to make informed decisions.
Exactly. And their whole data-driven approach is really effective.
Yeah. Like what the survey says initiative, they're showing that support for reform isn't just a bunch of people shouting. It's actually a widespread sentiment.
It's smart and it gives them a lot of credibility.
It's like they're speaking the language of facts and figures.
Exactly. And that's what policymakers need to see.
It's inspiring to see a group like that so dedicated to making a difference.
They're really putting in the work.
So we've been talking a lot about calling that legislative hotline.
Yeah, it's super important.
But are there other ways people can get involved with the KCFC and their efforts?
Oh, yeah, tons. Their website has a how to help section, and it's got all sorts of ways to contribute.
Awesome.
You can donate, you can sign up for their newsletter, you can even attend their events and connect with other people who are passionate about this issue.
So it's about finding what works for you, what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And remember, every little bit helps.
It's all about collective action, right?
Absolutely. And change doesn't happen overnight, you know.
It's process.
The legislative process can be slow, it can be frustrating sometimes, but it's important to stay persistent
Keep those calls coming.
and stay informed. Keep up with what's happening with HB 105 and don't be afraid to speak your mind.
I love it. Okay, so before we move on, is there anything else about HB 105 itself that we haven't covered yet? Any interesting tidbits?
Oh, actually, there's another bill that's kind of connected to all of this. It's called HB 106.
Oh, really? What's that one about?
We don't have all the details yet, but it seems like it's addressing some of the potential consequences of decriminalization.
Like what?
Well, things like expunging past cannabis convictions
Oh, wow, that would be huge.
and protecting Second Amendment rights.
Okay, so it's like they're trying to anticipate some of the challenges that might come up.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and thinking about the bigger picture.
And expunging past convictions, that would be a game changer for so many people.
It would give people a clean slate, a chance to move forward without the stigma of a criminal record.
Exactly. And the Second Amendment part, that's an interesting one because federal law still prohibits cannabis users from owning firearms.
Right, even in states where it's legal.
So it's like a clash between state and federal law.
It's a complex issue, and it's something that's going to need to be addressed as more states move towards cannabis reform.
It's like a whole other can of worms, but an important one to discuss.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. HB 105, the KCFC, the potential impacts of decriminalization.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, this issue is about way more than just cannabis.
Right. It's about so much more.
It's about individual freedoms, economic opportunities, social justice.
And it's about the role of government in our lives.
Exactly. And for Kentuckians, this is something that directly affects them.
The future of cannabis in their state is, in many ways, in their hands.
Exactly. So whether you're passionate about this issue or just starting to learn about it, your voice matters.
Get involved. Contact your legislators, especially your Republican representatives, and make your voice heard.
Every phone call, every email, it all adds up.
It's about showing them how much this issue matters to you.
And it's not just about voicing your opinion, it's about staying informed.
Right. Keep learning. Keep asking questions.
And have those conversations with your elected officials and your community members.
It's a conversation that deserves everyone's attention.
Absolutely. And we've given you the information and the tools to get involved. So we encourage you to keep researching and forming your own opinion.
Exactly. This is about empowering yourselves to make informed decisions. All right. So as we wrap up our deep dive into what's going on with cannabis in Kentucky, I'm really curious what has stood out to you the most from everything we've talked about.
Yeah, it's been a lot to unpack for sure.
It really has.
You know, for me, what's really striking is how we're seeing all these different things coming together at once in Kentucky. Like you've got this shift in public opinion happening,
Yeah.
and you've got this super dedicated advocacy group, the KCFC, really pushing for change.
They're awesome.
They really are. And then on top of that, you've got this real potential for economic and social benefits for the entire state.
It's like all the stars are aligning.
Yeah, it really feels like Kentucky's at a turning point.
It's exciting. And While we've been focusing a lot on the potential positive impacts of HB 105, we should also acknowledge that this is a complicated issue with valid concerns on all sides.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to consider things like public health, road safety, youth access, and how all of this would be regulated.
Right. It's not just a simple yes or no kind of thing.
It's about having those tough conversations, weighing the pros and cons, and figuring out what kind of future Kentuckians want for their state.
Exactly. And that's why citizen engagement is so important.
Absolutely. It's not just about calling your legislators, it's about talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family.
Right. Having those open and honest conversations about what this all means.
And working together to create policies that actually reflect the values and needs of Kentucky residents.
Okay, so for anyone who might have missed a few things along the way, let's do a super quick recap here. We're talking about HB 105, a bill that could potentially allow Kentuckians to vote on decriminalizing cannabis.
And remember, the most effective way to make your voice heard on this issue is to contact your Republican legislators and tell them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
That's right. Call that legislative hotline at 1-800-372-7181.
Make those calls.
Twice a day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Every call makes a difference.
And don't forget, you can also find your representative's contact information online through the Legislative Research Commission if you need it.
Super easy. So if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, Kentucky has a real chance to be a leader in this whole movement for cannabis reform that's sweeping the nation.
That's an exciting time.
It really is. And for all of you listening in Kentucky right now, the future of this issue is really in your hands.
Make your voices heard.
That's right. Speak up, get involved, and help shape the future of your state.
And as you continue to learn about this issue, I'll leave you with one final thought. If Kentucky does decide to decriminalize cannabis, what kind of impact do you think that will have on the state?
What kind of economic and social changes might we see?
How will this decision affect different communities across Kentucky?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's a complex issue with a lot of different angles, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've given you the information, the resources, and hopefully the inspiration to get involved.
Now it's your turn. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter most to you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
All right. Everybody still with us? Robert, you still with us?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm doing good. Robert, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, everybody. I am Robert Matheny. I own Kentucky CBD Pharmacy. I am a board director for Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. I'm also a board director for the Kentucky Hemp Association. I try to be the binding glue in this and bring this industry together as a whole. Patrick?
All right. Let's see if I can get this. We're going to go over a couple slides here. Let me know if you can see these. And I believe we got Grace online with us as well. There she is. I see Grace. Can you see this?
We can see it.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to talk about how you can help us change the cannabis laws in the state of Kentucky. All right. Before we go any further, I want to real quick just give a shout out to our sponsors. Okay. Let's see here. Give me 1 minute here. Someone's trying to come in here. All right. We got KY CBD Pharmacy, which is Robert. We got Kentucky Medical Marijuana Center, 502 Hemp, Medical Cannabis Clinic of Kentucky, One Love Hemp Dispensary, and Bluegrass Therapeutic Cannabis. All right. I want everyone to reach out to these organizations and tell them thank you because they support our cause. There are a lot of several doctors that support our cause as well, and we're very thankful for them to interacting with our group. Right. But these organizations actually sponsor us, so we appreciate their sponsorship. Let's see here. Okay, now we're going to talk about our referral program. All right, we're looking for people to help us find sponsors. So if you can find a sponsor that will sponsor at a platinum level, we're actually going to give you $50 for giving that sponsor, sending that sponsor our way. That's just appreciate everything that you are all doing. If you want more information, you can go to legalizekentucky.com referral program. Now we're going to talk about our 420 event. And if I go too fast, please ask me to slow down. All right, our 420 event. Okay, we are selling our little buttons here. We're asking everyone to please purchase one of their buttons. They're only $5. You can get them at the flea market. We're at the flea market in Shepherdsville. All right, we're asking everybody to wear this button on 420, take a picture of themselves and tag it and send it to us. We would really appreciate it. On that note, Robert is also having an event on 4/19. Robert, do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. The Saturday before, 4/20, which is also Easter, we're going to be having our event at Kentucky CBD Pharmacy. It's going to be a small vendor event. All the sponsors are invited. All the other CBD hemp stores are invited. We've got medical cannabis doctors invited. We will have food trucks and we will have entertainment. Y'all are welcome to come out and enjoy. This is a community event. We're just trying to celebrate green with no red or blue attached.
And who's playing? Who's the guitarist?
Daniel Kane. And if you've ever seen him or want to look him up, trust me, you'll like him. He's just really good.
Yep, I
He
like
will
him.
be
I like
famous very soon.
Right. All right, so we're going to go over some updates real quick. It's exciting news. We are actually going to be setting up at the Shepherdsville Flea Market for the next 2 months to educate people about our bill and get people to support our bill. So if you live near Shepherdsville, Kentucky, please come out and visit us. Okay, we would love to meet and talk to everybody about these bills. It's really interesting to talk to their people that are in the flea market. It's pretty interesting to see. All right, now we're going to go over some bills that we're talking about. Now, Grace, can you hear us? Grace? I think did we lose Grace, Robert?
I can hear you.
Nope,
All
we're
right,
there.
Grace, this is Grace Henderson. She is one of our board members as well. I'm going to let you read this. Is that okay, Grace?
Sure. Update of bills to focus on that we need your help on. We need you to call and say that you would vote no on HB 34, or that you do not support House Bill 34. It would make people using full spectrum CBD products driving impaired. It would classify them as impaired because of the 0.3% THC in it. So that's a no-go. HB 105 and 106, we support these. This will allow for a constitutional amendment to let people vote on the bills. This will completely decriminalize cannabis use and set it for a vote for the people. Woo! House Bill 62, we support. This is for vapes. It will fix the issues with House Bill 11 that could cause us not to be able to sell hemp vapes.
And Robert, would you like to add to that?
You know, our government's crooked. I hate saying it like that, but they're just not working for us on any of this. We're here speaking on behalf of cannabis. We're here speaking on behalf of a constitutional amendment that would give you the right to vote for yourself. While our legislators are actively working to ban the legal hemp products that are here currently, and the legal hemp products we have currently right now are our entire reason for cannabis decriminalization. We already have the products they're trying to sell us under a restrictive program. We just have to unban the laws. HB 62 fixes the issues with the HB 11. HB 11 was only a problem because they allowed a cigarette manufacturer to come into the state and propose this bill. And it made it so far through and so fast that nobody realized while they were banning vapes, they were also passing a medical cannabis law that only allowed vapes and no smoking. So it was a contradictory law. So we have to be able to stay on top of things like this. The HB 105, that's our constitutional amendment. 106, that's just basically a lot better written version of it. It goes into more detail as far as the expungements and stuff like that. HB 34 is absolutely insane. They're trying to put a nanogram amount in blood, which other states have done. Yes, that is an argument. But any cannabis consumer knows that that varies person to person. That varies diagnosis to diagnosis, tolerance level to tolerance level. So these laws that they're trying to put in place that span the gauntlet will incriminate innocent people. And I would hate to think that my mother or grandmother got arrested, searched, and put in jail because she's taken CBD, or even if she's a medical cannabis patient that consumes responsibly. We're using fear and propaganda to pass laws, and Kentuckians are allowing it by not standing up against it. So that's why we're here in the first place. So that was my short rant.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of slides and talk about how you can change the cannabis laws. So I'm going to go talk about how you can help change the cannabis laws in Kentucky, whether you're passionate about the social, medical, or economic benefits of cannabis legalization. There are several impactful steps that you can take to contribute to this cause. Number one, educate yourself and others. First and foremost, knowledge is power. Begin by educating yourself about the current cannabis laws in Kentucky. Understand the benefits and the risks associated with cannabis use, as well as a broader social, economic impacts of legalization. Once you have gathered this information, share it with your friends and family and community. Building a well informed support base can make a significant difference promoting change. All right, now with that, number two, Grace, you want to do this one?
Engage in advocacy. Engaging in advocacy is a crucial step. Join local or national advocacy groups that are dedicated to cannabis law reform. These organizations often provide resources, run campaigns, and host events where you can participate to amplify your voice. By becoming an active member, you help create a collective push for change that is far more effective than going it alone. I can confirm this from personal experience, having a broad support group that we all lean on each other and really inspire each other. And united we stand. It makes a big difference.
I agree, and I'm very appreciative of everyone who's joined in our group, and I'm just very thankful for each and every one of you all. All right, number three, Robert, you want to take this one?
Absolutely. Contact your representatives. Your voice matters, especially when reaching out to your elected officials. And if you all tuned in on our last meeting, we had Representative Nima Kulkarni on here. And I asked her very specifically if they even hear of us sending message. I asked her for very clear reason. That way it's in recording and you all can see it. But she said very plainly, they do get the messages. It's either on a piece of paper or on a list of things they have to go through, but they do receive the messages. So you have to be able to contact your representative to tell them how to represent you. We've elected them, red or blue, to be in here. And at this point, we're the ones they're representing, red and blue. So now we have to do our job and tell them how to represent us. Be kind, be courteous, be respectful. There's no reason not to be, but tell them how to do their job because that's what they are there to do is represent us. Contact your local, state, and federal representatives to express your support for cannabis law reform. Writing letters, making phone calls, or attending town hall meetings just like this are all effective ways to communicate your stance. Sharing personal stories and well-researched arguments can have significant impact on your representatives' perspectives. We say this, we give it to them, keep giving it to them, make them look you in the eye. That way they know you're telling the truth. That way you can see they're watching and hearing you. Call them, leave a number twice a day, or leave a message twice a day at this number. It's 1-800-372-7181. You will get a little person or little man or woman to answer the phone. They will ask you your name. They will ask you where you live. The reason they ask you that is to know who your representative is and that you are a voter. As soon as they get that information, your message is sent to whichever representative you want. And you just, again, leave a respectful message and ask them to support HB 105 and HB 106 because Kentuckians deserve that right.
Excuse me, should I just be screenshotting or is this all available? Is this whole thing available somewhere?
Yeah, it's going to be, you can always refer back to it on Facebook Live.
Okay, it'll be on Facebook Live. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And
Yeah.
then I'll
Yeah. All right, and welcome, Kirk. I'm glad you're here. Okay.
sorry, I haven't been able to the past few. There's been seizures. So to be
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
and thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to take number four. Support cannabis legalization. Stay informed about upcoming bills and initiatives related to cannabis. When election time comes, make sure to vote in favor for pro-cannabis measures and encourage others to do the same. Your vote is a powerful tool that can help shape policies and laws in Kentucky. Keep an eye on legislative developments to ensure you're ready to support the initiatives that align with your views. Our bill is HB 105. You can actually go to that website right there and view the bill. It's an amendment to the Kentucky Constitution to allow all Kentuckians to vote on the decriminalization of cannabis, carry 1 ounce of cannabis on you, and grow up to 5 plants. Now, we understand that 5 plants will yield more than an ounce. Okay, but we're talking about personal use. Whatever you do with that personal use is your business, not the state's. Period. This is a freedoms issue. Okay. Number 5. Let's see here. Grace, you want to do number 5?
Sure. Come participate in public demonstrations. You can show your support by attending rallies, marches, and other public demonstrations that advocate for cannabis legalization. These events not only serve as a show of solidarity, but also help raise public awareness and put pressure on policymakers to consider reform. Joining others in public demonstrations can amplify the message that cannabis law reform is a priority for Kentuckians. Like Rob said, they don't know unless you tell them. They don't know that you care in any capacity unless you tell them. So hope that you guys will help us tell them.
Exactly. Now, with that, on that note, like Robert was saying earlier, Representative Carney was on our last meeting, and after I got off our meeting, I spoke with her, and she actually wants us to do a rally up in the Rotunda. So we are, I'm thinking about that and seeing if we're going to make that happen. But we just got to make sure we have all the logistics put together for it. All right, number 6, Robert, this is yours.
Before we go any further, you just said that. Possible Rotunda rally. Anybody that's here that is curious of how long we've been doing this and if this is a new thing or not, please look up the amendment to the Kentucky Constitution from 2024, whenever we had this in the Rotunda with all the national news cameras. We were there, we had national coverage, and it still went nowhere because there was no participation. We have to be, it made national news because it was such a big deal. We've got the exact same thing in Kentucky right now, and our Kentucky media is not covering it. Put it out there for them. And if your local media is not reacting, reach further, reach national. So we're going to this. Contact media. An important step in raising awareness about cannabis law reform is to connect with your media. Reach out to newspapers, radio stations, and television channels to share information about the bill and its significance. Ask them to report on the current state of cannabis laws in Kentucky and the potential benefits of reform. By getting media coverage, you can help inform a wider audience and generate public interest, which can put additional pressure on lawmakers to take action. Engaging the media can amplify your message and increase the chances of positive change. Before we go further on that, tonight I do this almost daily, just so you know, but I actually have one of the people on here that I was helping tonight, Tracy Bowler. She is a owner of Joe Mon Wellness, and they're having payment card processors issues because of all this stuff going on, and no groundwork was laid for that. So what I did is I reached out to every media contact I've got, and believe me, I've got a lot. I don't know these people. I have reached out on their websites. I have collected emails. I have collected phone numbers, and the ones that respond, I keep them. And then I reach out to them and I offer them news tips just like this, because this is going to be a big thing and we have to be in front of it. Yes, I may not support medical cannabis at all because of the regulations, but there's a whole lot of people who are relying on this program right now to provide them medicine and replace these other medications they have. And if their doctors and their medical professionals are not able to collect payment, believe me when I say these medical professionals will not. They won't accept them. Worst case scenario, they won't participate in the medical cannabis program, limiting the number of people that would be able to get this product as medicine. Again, I'm not a proponent of this, but we have to be able to roadblock this, because if we don't stop these things from happening or alert the media to these things, then it's going to happen one at a time. And one of these people are going to have to fight it at a time. We have to be able to protect people. So that's one reason to use the media. And this is another reason we're doing this right here, is the media has to be able to echo our words. We're their viewers. Reach out to them. They need to know what we're wanting to see. Patrick?
All right. Thank you, Robert. All right, in conclusion, by taking these steps, you can contribute to an ongoing effort to change cannabis laws and help create a more informed and equitable society. For more information, you can visit legalizekentucky.com. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for your attention. All right, so we're going to go ahead and stop sharing this. All right, so we've got, what time is it? We've got about 20 minutes. We got about 20 minutes. Anybody have any questions? We open it up to the floor.
I'm trying to stay in with the messaging over here.
See if I
Can
can.
I be heard?
Who's that?
Oh yeah,
Okay, I
welcome.
didn't know if I was able to be heard or not, so I'm just checking in. First time attending, so I don't even know if I was able to be seen or what was going on.
There he is. Hey, how you
Absolutely.
doing, sir?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. Good to see you. How's things over there?
It's going. Everything's going
All right, we're gonna be you and I are gonna be talking. Huh?
in a positive direction. Everything's going.
Perfect. You and I are gonna be talking on the phone here in a minute, right?
Yes, sir. I just got
All
to
right.
clear up a couple things once this is done, and then yeah, I was planning on getting in touch with you.
All right, very good, very good. All right, I was actually Robert. I was talking to him about our Uno that we were trying to talk about an Uno game night. Remember, I was telling you about
Uh-huh.
that. He was helping us with that.
Cool.
All right, so we
Always
appreciate.
a good guy.
He is. All
I
right.
appreciate that. Thank you,
All
both
right.
of you.
All right. Anybody else on here that got any questions? Who else we have on here? Let's see here.
I want to say hi to one of my new Facebook friends, Lucy.
Lucy.
Thank you for being here.
Lucy.
This is our group. This is a very small number of them. We have 30,000 in our group. We've got some attending tonight. Again, we're just here to help people, all people, and we appreciate you being here.
Uh, isn't exactly a question, but I just wanted to throw some thank yous out. Since about a week ago or so, I've gotten this cannabis oil and these gummies, and let's see. Like I can say, I've obviously had seizures since um, my pre-seizure and post-seizure. The easiest way to explain it to people maybe who aren't used to seizures, anxiety is very bad. That oil works very quickly. The gummies take a while to work, so I use these things in different situations. But these products have been extremely helpful in taking away my what are the words for it? I have these
Contractures.
yes, after my seizures, and that has relaxed it very much and relaxed my anxiety before and after seizures a whole lot. And these are mostly CBD products. One of them is a CBD to THC 10 to 1 ratio product, and they have just been extremely helpful and extremely beneficial. And I want to thank um specifically the Kentucky CBD Pharmacy and Robert here for helping me out because I am going through it right now.
Well, I'm glad to be able to, Charles. I appreciate you being here, bud.
Um, and I am trying to uh, spread the word as best as I can, put it around as best as I can. And this is being fought as a demon. This is being fought as some kind of evil, and this is so helpful to me. And I'm given opiates, barbiturates, and benzos.
Yep.
If this the mind blowing.
Well, I'm glad you're getting good results out of it, Charles. I'm glad you're here, buddy.
Uh,
Thank you.
yes, I am, and I just want to thank you and the mind blowing results from that. And if I could have that instead of benzos and opioids and barbiturates regularly, I would just be blessed. I would be God blessed to have any kind of situation like that.
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, these products that I currently have for sale are our entire reason for cannabis decriminalization. So we're passing all these laws right now, and it's so restrictive. It's six qualifying conditions where the executive order covered 21. Speaking of that, we currently have 21 qualifying conditions covered under the executive order, as we just saying, and people are still being told to go out of state to get their flower because Kentucky was behind the ball whenever we launched the program. We didn't have the right stuff here. We didn't have flower. So people are still told to go out under the executive order, and that covers 21 qualifying conditions. But as soon as we get flower in this state, we're a seed to shelf state. So those qualifying conditions drop down to 6 qualifying conditions. So there's going to be 17
List of
qualifying conditions that are not going to be covered anymore. And these people have already switched to cannabis as medicine. So the products I have are the same THC. But beyond that, that's the problem I have with this whole thing, is because our state has muddied medical cannabis down to smokable flower and THC, because that's what they really want to get their hands on and restrict and tax. But in reality, what I've seen in the half a decade plus I've been using these products and selling these products daily, because I've got the same clientele, is the miraculous results I'm getting with high dose CBD and still utilizing the THC as they wish. But by adding that CBD, they're not even telling us about this stuff. And it blows my mind that I know thousands and thousands of people who've seen results just like you, that these stories are never on the news. We always hear about a kid bringing a vape to school or a kid sharing a bag of gummies at school, and these are generally out of state. Matter of fact, the last one I seen was posted out of Utah. This is the last propaganda piece I seen posted in Kentucky. Man gets shot while two people were smoking marijuana, and one of them got shot because he said he could dodge a bullet. That was literally a story.
I seen, I seen that.
But they won't post about your granny living 2 years longer, or your dog doesn't have the shakes anymore. We got to be able to reach out and talk to this media outlet about these things.
Yeah.
I've seen shorts of families getting high on Christmas, and most of them were extremely like it would be best news, you know. It would so much over the child with the vape, but the child with the vape makes so much more negativity. They're probably so it's just more positive to post on.
Right. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring it to light, break the stigma of it, let people know that this is something that has to happen in the state of Kentucky for multiple reasons, multiple reasons. Right, and everyone, no one should be denied this plant. Personally, I believe that all cannabis use can be considered medicinal. It really depends on how much you use of it. That's just because you can sit there and abuse anything, any kind of substance like a cheeseburger. It is what it is. All
I
right.
feel more awake with this use of CBD because I do have to use a high amount of THC for to make any difference in the amount of seizures I have, and to get any kind of from my seizure medicine. When I talk about the barbiturates and the opiates and everything, that's not even my anti-seizure medicine, my anticonvulsant medicine, which the high amounts of THC help an incredible amount, but it just knocks me out. That
Yeah.
CD helped that ratio. I can't exactly explain that, but I'm awake.
I can.
Well,
So out in California and Colorado, when we talk about marijuana as medicine, all dispensaries carry a 1-to-1 ratio. And that's because whenever you have to have high dose THC, like you're explaining, and you very likely do, I mean, that's what people do. Whenever you have that high dose THC, doesn't matter how much of a stoner you are, how much you consume normally, or however you want to say it, our bodies are not meant to handle that amount of just THC. And it makes us incoherent, unfunctional. And if you're not a consumer already, paranoid and not real good. That's where the CBD comes in. The CBD helps to buffer the euphoric effect of THC. making it a lot more tolerable. So it's a matter of using that ratio kind of like a scale. Worst days you got to flip it one way, better days you got to flip it the other. But whenever people realize that they can use the CBD like this with the THC, that's whenever we get whole plant medicine, we get real effect. So that's part of the reason I'm so bold with what I do in Kentucky, is because they're just doing it wrong. And I hate being that guy standing in the middle of a crowd of doctors saying you're not doing it right. But I've literally stood in the middle of a group of doctors and told them you're not doing it right.
Oh,
Hey,
great.
And
Rob,
I've
you,
taught them.
you stand there and tell them, because I tell you what, the whole program we had to go through to be, like the continuing education and all that to as providers under this program, it was nothing in comparison to what you have educated me on. So I really appreciate all that. Really
No
appreciate
way.
that. You keep standing in the middle of that group of doctors and telling them they're doing it wrong.
I thought of it as I was there too, so it was kind of humbling. But that's what it is. I mean, the THC has its uses. Some people require a whole hell of a lot of it that will make them non-functional. And these, just like heavy opioid patients, if they're at the end of their life or they're in a serious disease or serious illness or serious anything, and they require high amounts of pain medicine, they want to be functional. They want to remember these parts of life, even if they're in pain. I mean, they don't want to be incoherent the remainder of their life. And for a lot of them, they will have to deal with that exact choice. They have to either be out of pain or see their family and not see their family. I mean, and I've actually dealt with that. That's why I'm on this soapbox the way I am. My mom was not a consumer, but 5 milligrams put her so far out of reality, she never touched it again. So that's why I work to make sure people understand that ratio is super important. So all these little old ladies and little old men going to get pain medicine from the medical marijuana doctor now go into the dispensary and get the highest, I need the strongest stuff you can get. They're going to have a bad, bad day. And I'm hoping the dispensaries have more knowledge than they're making the certified professional get, because there's a lot more out there that is required to actually help people. And Tracy, I appreciate you because you're one of the only people that said, hey, I'm now certified to do this. Can you help me do it effectively? And all the respect in the world to that. So I send as many people to you as I can because I know you're trying to help.
Thank you. And I tell them everything you've kind of explained to me, and then you've inspired me to look up more research into the endocannabinoid system in our bodies and how it declines with age anyway, naturally, and how we're just reproducing that, kind of feeding back into that. So all the thanks to you. But yeah, it has helped because I know a little bit more because of talking to you about your experience with your mom and all that. And it has really transitioned to a lot of patients I've seen. And the other thing I really have noticed just in the last couple of months since starting these is that there has definitely been a stigma. Obviously, we all know that the stereotypes, the stigma, that is not even a portion of the people I'm seeing. It's not, it's a drop in the bucket of the patients I've seen. The patients I've seen are like your mom. They have had cancer diagnosis recently. They have chronic pain. They come in there, they literally come into my office with this look on their face, and it makes me want to cry because they feel judged before they even see me.
Yep. Just to
So,
function properly, just to have a chance at a normal life.
yeah.
And I've dealt with this every day for over 6 years now. And when these people come in, it is heartbreaking because they're no longer looking for a doctor to tell them the truth. They're hoping anything works. And I'm usually the last step. I mean, I'm the last ditch effort. I've tried everything else. I've exhausted all options. So now it can be you.
And it's
And
sad that they exhausted everything else because they didn't want to be judged.
that's it.
Or they thought it
It
was
really is.
taboo.
It
Yeah.
really
That's it.
is. And that's why I continue to advocate as someone who's been in this for a little while and has gotten jaded with people not standing up with us. The reason, the drive and the reason that I continue to push is because my Crohn's is in remission from using CBD and RSO. 9 different Crohn's meds in 13 years couldn't accomplish that. Everything that they tried me on made me worse, gave me worse side effects. So like now I continue to advocate because I want it to be the first line of defense, not the last. It can't hurt people. And yet this is what we're all trying last because doctors don't tell people about it.
And what I would say to that is that there, a lot of the people that are consuming cannabis now for medicinal issues that do not have those qualifying conditions is the reason we're fighting to decriminalize this, so they could still have their medicine. They, and get this done and get treated. And ma'am, is this Tracy, right? Is it Tracy? I can't.
Yeah.
Yes, Tracy. Tracy.
I really do appreciate you joining our meeting, right? And like like you were saying about your card processor, we're going to do whatever we can to try to help you sit there and get that resolved as quickly as
Thank you.
possible.
Thank
Okay.
you. I'll have patience tomorrow. And he said, I just got off the phone with him before this meeting and he's trying to find me a new processor. But, I mean, it is what it is. In a lot of ways, there's overreach with so many things in healthcare, and we just have to pivot and figure it out. So I'm not going to stop helping people. I'll just figure it out.
Well, we're here to support you. We're here to support
Thank
you.
you.
Go
I
ahead.
appreciate that.
Like I said, I've actually been through that several times. I'll get you through it as fast as possible. We know switching all that stuff is never easy, but it'll be a hell of a lot easier than I had it. I'll guarantee you that.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I was going to say just one other thing is I know this may not seem like a huge thing, but like even so there's also stigma and just kind of I guess assumptions among a lot of people that say, okay, well, anybody that's for this, they must be cannabis users. That's not always true. I mean, and I don't have to sit here and say I'm not a cannabis user necessarily, maybe situationally now and then with certain situations, but not a lifelong and never have been a real big, consumer of it. That doesn't mean I'm not supporting it. So I think we need to get more, not that we all have to say and how we identify, like, oh, yes, I do, or I don't, or this or that. But it does make a difference when you cut that stigma with supporters who are not necessarily consumers, but they get it. They understand the need for it. And it kind of debunks the fact that it's just all people that use it, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Just like my wife just said, you don't have to have breast cancer to support breast awareness, right?
Right.
You just don't. And there are a lot of people that do not consume cannabis that do support us because they have seen the lies that our government has done that they have given us in the past so many years. They've realized that this plant should not be a Schedule One. It should, for the least. I mean, they were supposed to take it down to a Schedule 3, and that hearing got canceled, right?
Oh,
So
that's what I was going to ask too. I thought they were in session through this month.
no,
Did they not do it?
that's a federal issue on a federal level, and I believe, Lucy, if you're with Normal, you might be able to answer this as well. All right, it's on a federal level. They were supposed to have it was supposed to be on the 21st of January.
January.
And they canceled it. They just outright canceled it.
And
right?
no
And-
rescheduling.
and
Yeah,
no-
that's correct.
No rescheduling it. Okay, so now this is still
It's just pushback.
it's just pushback, right? So this is now it's still regardless as a state issue, right? And decriminalizing this plant will solve the Second Amendment right issue. Period.
Okay, so that would override that.
Well, I mean, you're no longer having to go to a medical facility and say, okay, I need a medical card, and say, are you a
Yeah.
gun?
But it would override the Second Amendment situation.
It would take care of that because it would
Okay.
be a decriminalized issue. So the person who wants to keep their firearm, they really don't have to participate in the medical program. They can just continue getting the medicine like they normally do. You see where I'm going with this?
I think so.
Yeah. All right.
Can I chime in on that one?
Yeah.
There's other judges that's already come up and said it's unconstitutional with the Second Amendment right. It's like giving you one right to take another right away.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's more than the two that I've heard of, but You know, you can't say here's your medicine, but here we're going to take this in at the same time. It's not going to fly no matter even if they don't get it resolved. It's just something that shouldn't, you know, it's in black and white. It's the law shall not be infringed.
Right, and I think I overheard the DEA here in Kentucky said that they're not going to go after medical patients. I mean, I think I heard that on an interview. I don't
Yeah.
quote. So, I mean, you know, there are so many
Well,
things that we are fighting for. Go ahead.
hopefully I'll take that into account too, and pass that on to my patients, because I've got so many people, y'all, that are really upset about that and just fearful of it. It has limited people on getting their evaluation, their cannabis card, and then others, they're just still really, even though they're going through with getting the card, they're super concerned about that. So I'll try to ease that fear just a little and say, and what I usually tell them, and I'm not trying to condone anything illegal, I just say, hey, if you're not doing anything where SWAT's going to break down your door tomorrow, I wouldn't be real concerned about it. Just follow the law, you know. And a lot of people, they transfer them to their spouse, and then their spouse can't get their cert card. So one or the other, and they choose who's going to do it. And that's so sad that people have to do that. I mean, really, because these are law. If they weren't law abiding citizens, they wouldn't be getting this medical certification,
I agree.
Neat how that works.
right?
And what else I would add to that, ma'am, is that, you know, you talk about all these other states that have got medical cannabis. I'm pretty sure they've got gun owners in those states as well. Right. So that's how I would address that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes.
I'll say this on it. That again is a federal issue. So anybody that is currently a cannabis consumer and currently a legal gun owner has perjured themselves in order to become that. Same thing you're having to deal with in this medical program, except the fact that you're now documented. So that's why it's a problem. The decriminalization takes away the reason to document yourself as a cannabis consumer, which they call an illicit drug. So you don't have to actually say that. You are still technically allowed to, able to, not allowed to, perjure yourself on that form, because we have to get that stricken from the form, and that's the federal issue. But when it comes down to it, all the news this is made in Kentucky is a distraction, because that is something that gets people upset. That is something that gets people in an uproar, and that is something that has definitely gotten the attention of the entire state. Keeping in mind that the constitutional amendment that would decriminalize this has not made them say same headlines. So we need that kind of feel, we need that kind of movement for this bill in order to get it the news coverage it requires.
Basically, what it boils down to is that if you're a Second Amendment right activist, you should be on this bill like stink on shit. There's just no way around it. There's just no ifs or buts about it. If you want to have medical cannabis and you want to keep your guns, right? We can't control what the federal level does. Please support this bill. Period. With that said, do we have any more questions? Any more comments? Anybody want to add anything?
The rescheduling of with the DEA. Does anybody have any information on that? Like, did they go through with that and I know they were like at a standstill, but I don't know where that left off, and I can't necessarily.
It's been canceled.
Canceled.
Yes.
Well, that's bullshit. Excuse my language.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I want to add one more thing while I got everybody here. Again, I said that's a distraction. I stand by that. But we're trying to decriminalize cannabis in Kentucky. I've done stated that they have basically perverted it into smokable flower and just THC. And when I say that, do we know which THC I'm talking about? Most people that consume cannabis 20, 30 years ago have read the word tetrahydrocannabinol oil, but it's Delta 9 THC. That THC from medical marijuana is the THC that is restricted by law. It's the ones they restrict in hemp products to 0.03%. That's the part I'm trying to get through to everybody. Keep this in mind. In the beginning of the hemp industry, we had, just like Charles was saying, ratios, and the CBD oils are a high CBD, low THC. The hemp industry has figured out if it is hemp derived, it doesn't matter. That makes it legal. And that's why I'm able to sell the products I have. So I just said Delta 9 THC is the THC that the medical professionals are advising and recommending. That is also the THC we have in these hemp products, and these do not contain CBD. This is just Delta 9 THC. So I'm going to say this like this. If you extract water from an apple or you extract water from an orange, you still extract water. If you extract Delta 9 THC from hemp or you extract Delta 9 THC from medical marijuana, you still have Delta 9 THC. We have the full reason for legalization, decriminalization in Kentucky right now. And you can take that news to Indiana too, because that's a fight I haven't heard in any 50 states. So if that can help you, Lucy, I
Sure.
hope it does. That's just a quick, easy way to kind of explain it, and I hope that kind of got through. If y'all have any questions, you're free to message me outside of this anytime. Patrick?
Yeah, we're actually coming up on our 10 o'clock hour, but before we go any further, Lucy, would you
Gentlemen, can I cut in for just a moment, please? Hey, I want to thank y'all for inviting me here to the meeting tonight. I'm extremely happy. Robert, you made accommodations to have Lucy set in. Lucy's our administrator for iNormal up here in Indiana. She's also a veteran. She runs a tight ship. I'm on the board of directors also. And we have a lot of things in common with Kentucky and Indiana right now with decriminalization. And so I want to thank y'all again. You always have really informative and educational meetings, and I just want to really appreciate that, okay?
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Awesome.
I'm glad to have you
And
here.
I have somebody I'm going to put you in contact with, Hippie Rick. He's an advocate I've got up in Indiana. He's a great guy and he's very loud spoken. He will help you if he isn't already.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Oh, Robert, Lucy, Robert would like to meet Steve Dillon. We'll see if we can't make that happen, Robert, okay?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Matter of
that's
fact,
really awesome.
Well,
Also, the advocate that you said that you know up in Indiana, Robert, what part of the state is he in?
Oh God, I couldn't even tell you. I can't remember his name right
North,
now.
south, middle?
What's
I'm
that?
just curious. I said north, south, middle.
It's the part with corn in it.
Oh man, I know exactly where that is.
All of it.
so real quick, before we go any further, Lucy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Would you like to introduce yourself because you're with Indiana Normal? Can you tell us a little bit what
Yes.
you're doing?
Yes, give me just a second. Hi, I'm Lucy Lumen. I am the board chair of Indiana Normal. We are also working on a kind of unique fight with our legislative session. We have a lot of bills actually that have been proposed. They have their different challenges, but we're working through it. One of our most promising is Bill 1630 in the House and Bill 113 in the Senate. So SB 113 or HB 1630. If you guys just want to look at just to, compare notes. That's what I was checking out your guys' 105 earlier, just kind of seeing what you include and what you don't. And that's so meaningful.
Well,
Yes.
what I would ask you is from my understanding, the legislator from Indiana is a Republican. Is that not right?
Correct.
So how did a
Correct.
Republican legislator introduce the piece of legislation and our Republican legislators are refused to? So what I would ask,
So,
go ahead.
They're selling us
um,
corn. We're making bourbon.
Yeah.
oh man, you make delicious bourbon. I'm not even a drinker, but bourbon is different. No, but I will say, one of the interesting things about the Van Adder bill, 1630, and he also has a decrim bill that is honestly, I don't feel like very well written. It's very short. It's only 2 pages. It's it's just a reiteration of bills that have happened previously. But one of the reasons why 1630 has gotten so much attention is in part because it's written in a way that would include the ATC. And that is kind of advantageous to them. The Alcohol Tobacco Commission and would have marijuana regulated through that. It's not my personal favorite pathway, but it is a pathway that they've invested into. And there in Indiana, we have a kind of interesting thing that's happened recently where there is an LLC called Safe and Regulated that started, and they've done massive marketing campaigns throughout Indiana and are really trying to target our conservative market. And their goals are legislation change. And it's kind of interesting though, because they are an LLC and they're they keep reaching out to different advocacy groups, although they're not overly transparent. So we're kind of trying to figure them out and trying to see is there something nefarious? Is there not? How can we partner with them best? How can we partner with legislators to really let them know what we want in their what we want in those bills and really try to skim through them. They're really long, it's a 1630. So we're just trying to go through and make sure that even though they are being looked at and they are getting a lot of media attention, that they're not being taken for granted, not letting things slip through the cracks from LLCs or other interests.
We've seen,
So
you'd mentioned bills there regulating the THC through the Alcohol Tobacco Commission. We've got the
Mhm.
similar stuff happening here right now with our hemp products. The ABC, which is our version of that, they're
Mhm.
trying to take control of the hemp-derived liquids, the sodas, the syrups, the kratom liquids, and the kava liquids, and put that under the control of the ABC here. And that's one thing we're actually trying to fight against. They will likely get it because nobody knows to stand against it unless they're hearing what we're saying now. But
Same.
that's something that's strongly supported in our legislator right now. Obviously, it would bring more regulation and tax to them. So that's something people just got to be aware of, and I hope you can get the attention you need on it up there.
We're working on it. One of our challenges, though, is that we also currently have a bill that was proposed by Chris Jeter. He proposed it to say that prosecutors, like one of the big strengths that we've had is in Marion County, which is our central county. The main prosecutor said there's nothing that marijuana doesn't increase violent crime, so that's not going to be a priority for him. And he said that back even in 2019. And since then, they've kind of been trying to go after him because he said that he's not going to prosecute marijuana, low grade marijuana crimes. In fact, he even said at our 50th anniversary, there's nothing illegal about smoking marijuana in Marion County. And they drafted a bill to essentially slap them on the wrist and just take away financial benefits from them for not prosecuting marijuana crimes. Today, that was heard by the Crime and Civil Patrol Committee. And long story short, we got 10 yeses and 3 nos, and that's the same committee that's going to hear several of my cannabis bills. So we got to get to work. We got to get
That's
changing some
awesome.
minds, and hopefully those are just political moves for other bills that they would like to be heard. So
Let me ask
let
you a perspective question from Indiana.
all
How many
right.
counties do you have?
Um, goodness, I should know that more off the
92.
top of my head. 92. I was about to say
92?
92.
That's a lot. That's actually more
Yeah,
than
we
I
have a
think,
lot.
but it's a huge state.
Yeah.
Kentucky has 120.
Yes,
Oh
sir.
man,
Fix,
and I thought we had a lot. Oh
Fixing
man.
these laws means we've got to have all these different counties agree at the same time. So good luck. We got you back.
Oh yeah. Well, and the difference too is that we have some of our most the county chair that I mean the committee chair that I was just speaking about that co-authored that the prosecutor bill, actually her district is right there hugging Kentucky down there in Evansville.
Oh yeah,
And so many of them say, well, I mean, they can just go
813.
across they can just, go across the border and they're not really as concerned. So it's like
Yep.
trying to make a stance of like, hey, it does matter that we're in an island or that we are becoming an island,
Yeah.
in a sea of green.
Got to
Right.
get their taxes. They'll
Yep.
get there.
They do. All right, Jennifer, you had something? Did you want to say something?
No, Lucy might want to read 106.
Oh,
The
okay.
big bill.
Yeah, the big wheel, HB 106. All right, so
Okay.
before we go any further, does anybody else have anything else they want to add? Anybody want to introduce themselves? Any questions that we can try to address? Because we're now over our hour mark, but I'm not in any hurry.
I got just one real quick question. Jefferson County Public Schools in Louisville, they have approved medical marijuana for the students down there. That's going to help get them off Adderall, Prozac, other drugs right there, man-made drugs. Have y'all heard anything? Have you got? Can you keep us updated up here on that, please?
I have not heard anything about Jefferson County Public Schools, and I'm actually in Jefferson County, right? So I will tell you, I have not heard anything, but I will look into that. All right.
Yes, sir.
But I do know that what was your college?
Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky University has already came out saying
And
they
Bellarmine.
and they will, and Bellarmine said that they will not allow their students to have medical cannabis, right? Even though Bellarmine University has a growing cannabis program, right?
Yeah.
Go figure. All right. So, there's a lot of different things that we have to attack this on. Like in the city of Louisville, right? You can carry up to an ounce, a half an ounce, as long as you're not doing any trouble. You can carry half an ounce. That's an LLAPO, and we can do the same thing from city to city, right? But we're going from the state down, right? And going from that direction. Does that answer all your questions, Hippie, Rick?
Yeah, pretty much. I just had read the article where Jefferson County Public Schools had authorized medical marijuana for the students right there. I did catch where they said it'd be like a guardian or a nurse, or a parent would have to be the ones to administer it to them, and it'd have to be in close quarters. And I was just hoping y'all had heard something or can keep us updated right there. That's a big issue up here in Indiana. Also, we hear our legislatures continuously carrying on about the children. They do the same with alcohol. They do the same with cigarettes, over a period of time. I'm very happy myself to see the students being able to use CBD products to get them off these man-made pharmaceutical drugs. No, if y'all can just keep us updated, I'd appreciate it. And I know you're running over, so hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. Okay.
All right. Well, and if nobody else has any questions, just real quick recap. All right, we are having these meetings twice a week, all the way through the end of the session. So Sunday morning at 10 a.m. All right, Eastern Standard Time. If you're not doing anything, join us. And again, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Join us. We need you to invite all of your family and friends, your Kentucky legislator, and also any media, all right, that you can to this meeting. And with that said, everybody have a wonderful night. We appreciate
Bye,
you.
fellas. See y'all Sunday.
Thank you.
See ya.
I'll be back.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.